Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of Backstage, and today I am joined by International Woman of Mystery, Lexie.
Hello everybody.
How you doing today, Lexie?
Doing fine, thanks Jess.
Well, I sat down with Kyle last week, and it was such a fun conversation that I wanted to bring more of my friends in and have the same conversation. So I was wondering if I could be so bold to ask, what are some of the dumbest things you did as a kid, anywhere from 0 to 18, if it's like stuff when you were really, really little, or if it's like you got high school stories? What are just some of the dumb, embarrassing stories that you have? Okay,
well, there's one that comes to mind first and foremost. Probably one of the stupidest things I did as a kid. I was 8. I had just moved to this new town. It was the new girl, right? Okay. And I only knew a handful of people in my neighborhood. And it was the first time that I had some freedom I walked to school and had a key to my house, things like that.
All right.
And I was walking home from school one day with my one friend that I had in my neighborhood. And I got home and my older sister was waiting outside of my house. And she was like, "Tell me you have your key." And I was like, "I don't have my key." I was like, "You're always here first. Where's your key?" And she was like, "I forgot mine too." And I was like, "Oh no, I really have to go to the bathroom." And she was like, "How bad do you have to go to the bathroom?" And I was like, "Really bad." If you're catching my drift, not a number 1, a number 2. I had to go so bad. Yeah. And I was like, "What are we going to do? I have to go." And she was with her one friend that she had, whose name was Christina. And she lived down the street. And she was like, "You guys can come to my house and use my bathroom." And I was like, "I'm not doing it." And she was like, "But why?" And because her younger brother, whose name was Teddy, if you watch this, you never knew this story, was in my class and was also a new kid. And he was like a really good friend of mine. And I was like, I cannot poop in Teddy's bathroom because he's going to tell everybody at school that my poop smells terrible. And so I was like, I can't go to the bathroom there. So my sister was like, "All right, let's try and break into the house." And so we tried to break into our house, and I was 8 and she was like 11. So nothing happened, or 12 maybe. And so finally, somebody came up with the bright idea of, "Lexie, why don't you go in the backyard and just poop in a flower pot?"
Oh, man.
I was like, "No, I don't know if I can do that." But then they were like, "All right, well,
Were there no woods around?
Nope. We lived in a very open neighborhood.
Oh, well,
It's terrible. Anyway, the story's ridiculous. Anyway, so finally I'm like, all right, I'm either going to poop my pants, have to poop in Teddy's bathroom, or I'm going to poop in this flower pot. So I gave in and I was like, all right, I'm going in the flower pot.
Wrong answer.
I know. And so all of the people who were with us, so there were 3 other people besides myself, made a fence around me while I pooped in this flower pot. And then don't ask me why we didn't do this first. We finally called my dad and are like, "Dad, we're locked out of the house." Probably got there in 15 minutes and unlocked the door. And honestly, and I'm being honest, I cannot remember if I even told them I pooped in the flower pot or if we just let it stay.
They'll find
and
out
let
later.
the rain wash away. I don't know. But yeah, it was
Did you have
really stupid.
Did you have a crush on this boy, or just...
No, Teddy and I were just like, we were both the new kids, right? So we instantly bonded. We also both had like, you know how sometimes like nervous kids get warts all over their hands? Have you ever heard that?
No.
Okay, so like kids who have like more of a nervous personality get like just their hands covered in warts. It's just like a thing. Anyway, Teddy and I both had like warts all over our hands. And so we were just like friends because we were both new kids. We both had these warts all over our hands. We lived in the same neighborhood. I know, I'm just revealing a bunch of weird things about myself as a kid. But anyway, so we were just good friends. But Teddy was also one of those kids who like was a blabbermouth. So I was like, if I go to the bathroom in his house, the whole school's going to know about it.
Yeah, you can't trust him.
Exactly. Couldn't trust him. So
have you... do your parents know this story?
They do, yep.
Okay.
I told them later.
How old were you when you told them?
I don't know. I want to say I was probably out of elementary school when I finally fessed up. Because my mom, you know how moms always know everything? Mm-hmm. She just like one random day was like, Lex, I found a bunch of weird things in this flower pot not too long ago. And I was like, that's weird. Tried to play it off.
Weird things.
Yeah. And then probably told her about it. So.
Wow, I feel like we can go ahead and call it a day.
I know.
I mean, that's a
So
solid.
sorry.
That's a solid story.
But I'm trying to say that I guess I regret pooping in the flower pot because everybody poops. So like, I don't know why I was so scared.
That's what the book says.
To go, to go in my
Man.
friend's house.
I mean, a flower pot's not super expensive. It's not like you damaged.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like you cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
Although I hope that they just like threw that flower pot into the woods or something.
That's what I'm saying. I literally have no idea whatever happened with the contents of that flower pot.
Man, I'm trying to think. I've had to, you saying being locked out of your house, I've had to break into my house a couple of times growing up. I think when I was in first grade, my mom actually, I don't know if she locked her keys in the house or what, but she broke a window to get back in the house.
Broke it.
Like the garage door had a window in it, and I remember it being super cool, like something out of, Vin Diesel and Fast and Furious or whatever. I think she just kind of like took a rock and let herself back in, grabbed the keys, and was like, all right, let's go to school.
Yeah, back when, I don't know if your house has ever had alarms, but mine never did.
I mean, not when I was a child.
Yeah.
I think we did. We had alarms in middle school maybe. But yeah, that was before. That was like the 90s before alarms were invented.
We're like a huge thing at least, yeah.
Yeah. I don't have anything quite to that magnitude. I had things I did out of just ignorance and stupidity. So
I've got plenty of those too.
I think I was probably in 7th grade, maybe 8th grade, and I would always. My mom has made fun of me for years for this. We would eat dinner 6:37, and then a couple hours later, I would come back up for round 2. I would just get hungry again. And that night we had spaghetti, and we got the spaghetti and the sauce, and then you buy the garlic bread and the big foil wrapper from the store. Mm-hmm. And so I came back up. It's like 9:30, 10 o'clock. My parents were already in bed, and I was heating up spaghetti. I was like, I want some more of that garlic bread. Is that garlic bread here? Yeah, there it is in that foil wrapper.
Oh,
Let me just throw that in the microwave and just kind of like chucked it in there so that it was like touching the back wall and 30 seconds.
That's great.
And I turned around and I push start, turn around, and I just hear and I turn around and it's beautiful. Just all these colors sparking. If you're not familiar and you're listening to this, you're not supposed to put any kind of metal in the microwave. And
yes, please hear that and remember it.
Includes aluminum foil, tin foil, spoons, any of that. So it's like all this electricity is arcing. And I was like, opened it up real quick. I was like, okay, nothing's on fire. I'm just going to pull this out and pretend it never happened. Pull it out. Huge black spot right on the back of that. And then I just retreated downstairs. I don't think I ate the spaghetti.
Just hid, right?
Just put the garlic bread back on the counter and I just ran away. I was like, maybe I can get to school tomorrow before she notices.
Yep. I feel like the common theme in both of these stories is never telling anybody these stupid things that you did. I have another one.
Go for it.
One time, so when I was a kid, I used to be one of those children who could sit in the bathtub for hours and just play and entertain myself.
Yep.
So if I was bored, my parents would be like, "Oh, go take a bath," and I would go sit in the bathtub and just play, right? So as I got older, that was just a habit of mine to go sit in the bathtub for long periods of time. I also struggled learning to read, and that would help me focus if I read in the bathtub.
Yeah.
So this summer, I'm home by myself. I was probably 11 or 12. And I was hungry, so I started cooking myself on the stove some ramen noodles, right?
As you do.
But at the same time, I started taking a bath and somehow completely forgot about the ramen noodles. And when I say I sat in the bathtub for a long time, I mean sometimes 2-3 hours plus. So I started taking a bath while I'm cooking this ramen, right? Never smelled anything, no fire alarms went off or anything like that. I was in the bathtub probably 2 hours. Come back downstairs, the ramen, it burned, so most likely caught on fire, burned itself to the pot and was still burning when I got out of the bathtub. And so I come down and I'm instantly struck with fear because my dad is Mr. Safety. And I was like, my dad's going to kill me. He's never going to leave me home alone again. I'm not going to be able to use the stove or the oven or anything. And I start panicking and I just take this pot of ramen, put it under hot water, and I'm scrubbing, with knives, metal spatulas, trying to get any evidence that I left
just
food on the stove for 2 hours. Yes, for 2 hours. And if anybody listening or watching this doesn't know, the thought of leaving something on the stove for 2 hours, probably on fire, is...
Right, you very easily could have burnt your house down.
Right. Anyway, it was, I mean, and then after that, I felt like I didn't trust myself to make food. I would have to like stand there and watch it cook. Cause I was like, if I walk away, what if I forget again?
Yep.
What if I burn my house down? You know, what if my sisters would have been here and they would have died? You know, like super irrational thoughts, but just crazy.
Yeah.
Who takes a bath while they're cooking something?
Well, it happens to the best of us.
11-year-olds,
you know,
that too.
That's right. Well, so if you could go back, this will be a two-parter. Let's start with you on the younger end of the scale. If you had a time machine and could hop in and go back and talk to your middle school self for like 5 minutes, what advice would you give yourself? Like, what advice do you wish somebody had given you? Or is there advice that somebody gave you that you wish you had not ignored because you were like, I know better than that?
Yeah. Well, actually, I was really excited when you asked me to answer this question for this podcast because this is something that I thought of really recently that I was like, man, I wish more people knew this when they were younger. And it would be that, like, you know, God made you one way to look a certain way. You are who you are. And when you are obsessed with all the things that are wrong with yourself, you're always miserable. But if you can just latch on to the fact that, like, there are things about you that aren't going to change and learn to love yourself with those things that you might call flaws.
Yep.
I mean, you have so much more peace. And not only that, but you have a lot of confidence. And I think the problem with thinking you have so many flaws or so many things wrong with yourself is that you become so insecure and, like, it makes people notice those flaws.
Yeah.
But if you're confident in your flaws, people are like, oh, yeah, well, she's got crazy hair or he's got a huge nose, but, I mean, he's rocking it, you know, because you're confident in those things.
Anytime you can embrace it and like be part of the joke, it really disarms people from being able to make fun of you.
Exactly. So, for example, when I was in middle school, late elementary school even, I had insanely hairy legs. Like, I was one of those girls who had black hair on their legs that was super thick, right? And I wasn't allowed to shave yet. And so boys and girls called me gorilla legs. Like, they would see me point, laugh, call me gorilla legs.
I'm sorry for laughing.
I know, it's fine. I mean, I laughed too. And that was the thing is, like, I knew I had hairy legs. They could make fun of them all they wanted, but I had to keep them until I was a certain age. Like, I wasn't allowed to shave it off, you know?
Right.
So I would laugh with them and I'd be like, yeah, I got hairy legs. You got a weird face. Like, let's be friends. And I say that I wish somebody would have told me that because, of course, there were times when I was like, oh my gosh, everybody hates me for my hairy legs. I have no friends, you know, whatever.
Yeah.
But luckily, I had a family that was kind of big on making fun of your flaws and kind of pointing out the fact, like, hey, you're stuck with this. Let's laugh about it. So there were many other things people would make fun of me for, and it didn't hurt me as much because I was like, yeah, you know, like, you might think this is weird, but, like, I like that I have a pointy nose or super frizzy hair or something like that. And I think obviously everybody thinks there's something wrong with themselves. And there are ways when you go older to maybe change them, like drastic things, plastic surgery, getting things done to your hair that make it look a certain way. I don't know. Yeah. Working out constantly, maybe. But the truth is when you do those things, you know, you end up kind of miserable because you never really like who you really are.
Right. You never quite achieve whatever it is you're going for.
And even if you get plastic surgery or do those things to your hair or work out constantly, like, one day your muscle's going to sag, you know, or that plastic surgery is going to become weird looking, or you're not always going to be able to use those chemicals on your hair, right?
Right.
So if you just learn to, you know, see those flaws, but think about the fact, like, hey, there's no way I'm ever going to be able to change this permanently. So I need to find a way to live with it and love myself like that.
Yeah, it's people live their lives thinking if they could change it, it would be better. But the reality is, if you can figure out how to live with it without changing it, that's what's better. Yeah, because then you're just like, you're so much stronger. Or as I have also heard it said, own it or it owns you.
Yep.
And that's
very true.
Yeah. So what about on the other end of the spectrum? If you could go to 12th grade, about to graduate, Lexie, and give her some advice, 5-minute time machine, what would you tell her?
5-minute time machine. Probably to relax because
chill out.
Yeah. Can you just take a break? Like, that's what I would tell myself. Like, just take a break and enjoy yourself, because I was and there's probably some other people out there listening to this who feel this way. I was one of those teenagers who like took the world into my own hands. Like in my head, I have no help. Like I have to get the straight A's to get to college. I have to find the money myself. I have to figure out how to fill out all these forms alone. And I have to be in all these clubs, and I have to be a captain of the sports team and the captain of this and look this way so that I can do X, Y, Z, you know, get a good job, get into college, have good friends, something like that. Anyway, but I was always stressing myself out. I was stressed all the time. I talked about how I was kind of a nervous kid and had those warts on my hands. But I was like also not nervous, but just like a stressed out teenager. Like I just was always stressed.
Yeah.
To the point where like it gave me like these physical issues where I used to have like this striking pain in my shoulder that I used to get all the time. And I never knew what it was from. Doctors couldn't tell me what it was from until one day a doctor was like, this is because your back muscles are so tight. Like you're going to break a bone. Like you've got to calm down and learn how to relax, right? And there are so many people out there who are so stressed about not making any mistakes that they probably live this exact same way. But the truth is in those beginning stages of your adult life, like moving out of high school, moving into other things, I mean, those moments are basically built on mistakes. And you have to give yourself a lot of grace to make them, because that's really the best way that you can learn is to make mistakes. So if I could go back, I would tell myself to relax and enjoy those mistakes, you know, and maybe not stress out so much about my grades or the clubs or whatever, and just even learn who I am in general. Because I walked out of high school oblivious to who I even was. And I wish I would have given myself more time to just find those passions. Yeah,
I think a lot of people put so much weight into those because they are trying to see the entire future of their lives.
Yeah.
And they're like, I failed this one test. My grade's going to tank. I'm going to lose that scholarship. I'm not going to get into the school. And then I'm going to have a terrible job. It's like, you have got to calm down.
True.
Not every single, I mean, all your decisions matter, but like not every single mistake has the entire world hanging in the balance. Mm-hmm. So like, just take a breath. You're going to make it through this. And take, I think the more realistic word is like, just take it as it comes. Like, yeah, you need to have a plan or whatever for the future, but not everything is life and death going to like send your plan into the pit of failure or up to the mountain of success. Yeah. So, and a lot of times those like mistakes are what send you in a different path that is higher than what you were maybe originally planning.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, you know, things can happen that you didn't plan necessarily, but that maybe had a more divine plan, and it could look like a mistake to you, but could really shape your life for the better. That's so true.
Yeah.
You just never know.
That's good stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a good place to stop. Thanks for sitting down. Thanks for coming out of the gate swinging. I mean, that was solid work. To everybody watching and listening, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and we will see you next week. Backstage.
See you next week. Bye.